everything having to do with being a performer, being in a band, just playing your own songs. It's a ritual. It really is. And I feel like that's such a heady thing to say.
Okay, we are live and recording. Okay, look at that.
Episode 5.
Is it? Yeah, episode. Yeah, is it? Wow. Already episode 5.
We are
coming
rolling.
at you. We are just cranking them out like Kobayashi.
Yeah.
Yeah, kid.
Yeah, kid. So our COVID-19 news.
Still fucked.
Trump is putting together a 3-phase system where each state has to go through different phases if they want to return to normal or whatever. I didn't read too much into it. I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention.
I read the headline. I moved on. I don't know.
Jeff Daniels from Dumb and Dumber. She said in the he's like, I don't know, out of the blue, she said I wasn't, her type or whatever. She said I don't listen to her. I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention.
Yeah.
Freda Felcher.
Freda. That's it. I can. So
did you watch that? I sent Steve a really creepy game earlier. Way ahead of its time. It's like you don't kill anybody, you don't hurt anybody. You just walk through the same hallway of your house, and the guy killed his family and stuff, and he's reliving it. Forget.
What's the name of the game?
I think it was called TB. It's made by the Silent Hill people, I think. Pretty wild stuff. But
Silent Hill.
Good stuff.
Game. See if we can get some screen share. Silent Hill the arcade. Silent Hill PT.
I think it's just
PT.
PT. Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
Pretty messed up. It's
we
pretty jealous.
pretty.
Yeah, good stuff.
Okay. So let's go to the screen share here. Desktop Optimos.
After these. So we may have John Chesbro later. We're not sure about it, but episode 5, our guest today is Christopher George Cardone of Heavy Necker, and we're excited to have him in a couple minutes.
Oh, his middle name is George?
It is. It's George.
I didn't know that.
Why would you know that?
That's true. I don't know. I feel
you're like, wow, damn, that's his middle name. I feel like I should have known that. Oh, okay. So you're literally walking through this hallway every single moment. So this is a demo of a game that was never finished because I don't know why they didn't finish it. Something happened with funds, but I feel like it's way ahead of its time. I'm sure there are games like it, but you don't interact with really anybody. There's no fighting. There's nothing that you just. In the beginning of the game, it says there's voiceover, and it's talking about how a guy killed his family, his wife or whatever, and his kids, and he has to this guy you're playing, I'm assuming is him, and you're reliving the whole thing. But you keep walking.
It's just like Silent Hill. Just
every time you walk through the hallway, something changes. You walk down that basement door, you walk right back up again, and every time you do it, some things change. It gets so crazy toward the end. All the paintings turn to eyeballs. There's a dead fetus in the sink, in the bathroom. The whole there's somebody staring at you and stuff.
What's the around here? Press X on. Ooh, that's fucked up.
This has a really big fan base. Everybody was like, "Oh my god!" But there's a creepy voice over it too, a radio, and he's like. It's turn around, and then you turn around. There's no one there. It's just oh man, it's crazy.
Whoa!
It gets you going.
Dude, look at this shit.
The lights turn off. There's something hanging up top there.
Does this all take place in the same apartment? It looks like.
It's the same house. Yeah, you just keep walking through the same hallway. You can go into different rooms if the doors are open. But right, yeah, on the wall there it says I can hear them screaming at me from hell or something like that. Like at one point you see beer bottles all over the floor in like one of the stages because I guess he was a drunk or whatever.
Check out this shit. Check out this shit. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, I don't like that.
Yeah, that doesn't happen too often. That doesn't happen too often, which is great because if it happened too often, it kind of loses its effect.
Dude, what the fuck am I watching right now? Dude, I can't watch this. Fucking my brain up.
Yeah, if you
fucking me up, dude.
Watch this in a dark room and just watch. It's a 40-minute video,
right.
I think. All right. So
all right.
The record I chose today, this is one of my favorites. It's by the great David Bowie. It's called Hunky Dory.
I think
came out in 1971. Has some great songs on it. Changes, Oh You Pretty Things, 8-line poem, Life on Mars, Kooks, Quicksand. A lot of good stuff on here. I saw a documentary thing today where it said that Bowie like sang over a version of My Way by Frank Sinatra, or like he was given the music before Frank was, and he like made his own lyrics over it, and it never did well. It was cheesy. And then somebody else, and then they gave it to Frank, and he sang over it with lyrics, and like it became a Frank Sinatra song. And Bowie was pissed because he's like, "That was me first."
That was someone. And Ghost wrote that.
Yeah, Paul Anka wrote it, and then Bowie wrote "Life on Mars" on this record to kind of like challenge My Way. So he said he wrote it as like kind of like an attack on My Way by Frank Sinatra. So I thought it was pretty interesting.
No way.
But some great songs on here. One of my favorite Bowie albums. If you haven't heard it, listen to it, please. It'll do you good. And again, just so you know, check out the Cosmic Vultures website, cosmicvultures.com. Check us out on Spotify, our EPs, our album, YouTube channel. The Cosmic Vultures podcast is a Facebook page now. Check that out. Like it, share it. Give us comments on these videos. Let us know what we could do better. What we're really trying to do is give you the local music scene, give you some local music artists that are doing some really cool things, and for you to be a part of it as well.
And there he is.
Yo, Chris Cardone in the house.
Hey, Wayne, what's up?
What's up?
What's going on?
What are you doing? You look like you're on a porch.
I am on a porch and just chilling, man, hanging out, taking this gray afternoon for what it's worth, you know?
Yeah.
All right, what's it worth? That. What do we got? What's it worth? What's the value? What's the trading for?
Enough. I think good enough is the value right now.
Okay. I like that.
Cool.
Guys, I think I'm the one person in America right now who's got it figured out.
I think you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm usually already like I'm a healthy eater that lets myself have a life. I'll put it that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The occasional temptation is okay.
I stick to like chicken and greens for the most part, but like 2 weeks ago I like ate an entire large cheese pizza.
Nice.
You know, like I go for it sometimes. I'm like, you know, fuck it.
Sometimes
what's all the discipline for if you can't cheat every once in a while? You know?
Absolutely. The only problem with me is that like I cheat once and I'm like, well, that was good. What else is there? And then and then a year later I was like, damn it.
How did a year go by so quick?
You feel it come to you a year later.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, geez.
I've been eating butter for 365 days straight. What happened?
Yeah, I fucked that up. Heavy Necker, awesome band.
Mm-hmm.
Love your sound. The latest full-length, EP release, Absolute Darkness. It was so unbelievably cohesive. All 6 songs. It was 6 songs, right? I'm pretty sure there's 6 on there.
Yeah.
Pull it up.
Every song sounded like it belonged together, and I was just so impressed with the way everything sounded. I loved the song Absolute Darkness, and I love Star Sign. The great guitar solo in Star Sign. I had to listen to it like 3 or 4 times. I love the riff. Every note you play in the guitar solo mattered. It was just so thought out. I just wanted to let you know, I really, really enjoyed that one. And I want to if you could talk about it a little bit, maybe the process of recording it.
Sure. So the Absolute Darkness EP was kind of like a process of about 3 years. Before the end of it, we had probably maybe 14 or 16 songs. And our original idea was to like, all right, let's find these songs that have something in common. And then over a period of time, just release this group of songs in like small 3 or 4 song batches, because like most people don't really have the time or the patience or the listening habits to sit down and listen to a full-length record anymore. I just feel like that's kind of the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do today. I just listen to like 4 full-length records like right in a row. I love it, but not everybody's like that. And I think if you focus and kind of do something smaller, more easily digested, people will come back next time you drop the seeds. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But that, yeah, it was over the process of about 3 years. It took us a while because we pay for our recording and everything having to do with the band entirely with gig money. So we'd like bankrupt ourselves with like 2 days of recording, get like 2
That's all it takes. That's all it takes.
And then we gigged for like 4 or 5 months, and then went in, did like another weekend. It was like a bunch of that, which is cool because when you're there, you're doing it. I feel like you're less worried about the time because you can rest assured that it's paid for. You're like, okay, cool. Like, and then it's also really validating and kind of reassuring in like that type of creative environment to be like, oh yeah, like this isn't even costing me anything really. Like just doing this is allowing me to continue doing it. So that's that was like the largest accomplishment of that whole project for me. Just being able to say that we paid for it, like just with The Rock, you know?
Right.
that's huge, man. And once you get that burden out of your mind, it's just like that. Once the money's taken care of, you can focus on the creative process. You don't have to worry, stress. How much time do we have left? All this, all this crazy stuff. So that's good. It's way better for the creative process.
It was also that record in terms of the songs. I appreciate Derek, your high praise. That's so amazing to hear. I really love that. A lot of those songs were the first songs when I kind of naturally made a transition away from using a pick on the guitar. Most of the time, I just use my fingers now, and basically all of those songs are done with my fingers.
Wow,
that's sick, man.
That's really cool.
So that was kind of a big change in terms of style for me. A lot of the licks I was writing, a lot of the chords I kind of found and used were very much kind of steered by the fact that I was using my fingers most of the time.
That's
really awesome.
Cool,
Is that a technique you kind of gradually segued into? Did you always play like that when you first started, or is that something you kind of adopted over time?
Finger picking?
Yeah. You usually hear about, guitarists usually do with picks, obviously, but yeah, some finger picking, but I feel like a lot of people would tend to use a pick, but I get the appeal of using just fingers too, because it's more tactile, I guess. You get more, you can feel more nuanced kind of feel.
You can, if you practice enough, you can emote so much more, because it's like that's your flesh and blood that you're using to communicate with the instrument, Like you can do that with a pick to an extent, but I think the pick strength is in stark articulation, whereas in the fingers you can get so much more dynamic expression out of just the way you're touching the instrument, in my opinion.
Steve Ray Vaughan, was he a guy that used his fingers a lot, or I think he might have, I forget.
He was mostly a flat picker, but he did some of that hybrid shit where like you'd like grab a low string and like pluck a higher string with one finger while
okay.
You know what I mean? You ever see that shit going on?
I don't know. Yeah. That I don't know. He used I heard, is it true? I don't know if you know it. Is it true that he used like the heaviest gauge strings for his guitar? I don't know if that's true or not. I heard it once.
Dude, there's so many legends about Stevie Ray Vaughan. I think I heard him using 11s one time, which is pretty heavy for bends like that. But I actually have a pretty cool Stevie Ray Vaughan story I've heard. You guys know that album Couldn't Stand the Weather?
Oh yeah.
What a crazy awesome album, right?
Yep.
So I guess I forget where I heard this. It might have been like some YouTube video or something. Every once in a while, I'll go back into an SRV kick that like will never leave me. There's like an SRV tumor inside my body that will I'll just go into remission every couple of weeks.
Flares back up.
Yeah. But on the recording of that album, I heard that he wanted his guitar just like super, super, super loud when they were recording it. So he had like a shit ton of amps just cranked. But it was because he plays Strats, the single coil was like so noisy that they couldn't record him. So what they did is some guy got the idea to like have him record inside a cage. So they had this guy come over with a shit ton of chicken wire, and they built a cage for Stevie Ray Vaughan to stand in while he did the guitar tracks for that whole album. And the electromagnetic field of the metal that the chicken wire was out of grounded him. What? So when it was inside the cage, it didn't hurt anymore.
So they just built him a giant Faraday cage.
If that's the word for it.
Yeah,
sure.
Like some people will. It's this thing it's like an advanced tinfoil hat, I guess. But if you have to do it right, obviously, because you can't. If you're inside the cage, you can't get a cell phone signal. It's called a Faraday cage. Okay. So maybe that's kind of what they were thinking, to block out all the electrical interference.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, again, with legends like that, there are so many legends about the legend.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So I heard Murder Glue last night.
Oh, the new one.
That's the newest single. I believe it was released April 3rd this month, which is pretty recently. That sounded like a soundtrack to a movie. I had listened to it a couple of times, like to get all the different nuances, because it was so freaking cool. What's the story behind that one?
Well, I actually really enjoyed the recording process of that one personally. We tried a lot of unique things. First and foremost, I want to bring attention to the guy who recorded, mixed, and mastered both Absolute Darkness and Murder Glue. That's Alex Allenson. He's
love Alex.
We've worked with him before.
Our first EP was with Alex. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I forgot about that. Sorry. Great guy. But with Murder Glue, we recorded Absolute Darkness at the Bridge with Alex there, where he was kind of really comfortable. But that the guys and I kind of thought about Absolute Darkness just kind of in terms of our own creative critique. Is we didn't like how clean it was. Like, it's not like particularly like a really clean record, but like it just like the tone seemed like it didn't really capture exactly like what we sounded like. It sounded like a recording of us. It didn't sound like us, which like I feel like that's kind of a weird thing to say, but maybe you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I get it. Absolutely.
The sound wasn't really capturing what you had in your head at the time.
Yeah, I'd listen to the recording right after we'd take a take, and I'd be like, dude, like, that doesn't sound like this room sounds when we're playing. You know? It's weird how that happens like that.
Yeah, it could be a lot of factors, man. That's why recording's it can be a tedious process, man, because it's like there's so much experimentation you can do. Mic positions, 6 inches out can make a huge difference if you're micing like a guitar amp, bass amp, whatever.
Yeah.
That's what one of the albums we did ourselves, Mariana, and for John's guitar tracks, we did a bunch of experiments. Like we would do one mic in like inside the amp and 2 in the front, and then we do like a room mic. We just like spend a day. So I'm not sure if that's like kind of similar to your experience, but like sometimes you have to really experiment with mic positions, and because sometimes it can come out different for sure, and you're like, that sounds a little bit different than what I intended.
Yeah, man, for sure. Everything makes the smallest difference. In fact, that the Murder Glue recording, we kind of went out on a ledge and we're like, Alex, we want to record with you, but we don't want to be at Bridge. And he's like, oh, that's cool. We can go to other studios. I actually have some friends here. Here, he gives us this list. And we're like, no. Yeah. Oh, sick. Thank you. Sorry. We were like, actually, what we want you to do is strip down your rig and just come record us at our practice space, which is like in the basement of this building. Wow. And it's kind of a grimy place. Lynn's a beautiful city, a lot of nice parts. It gets a bad rap, but this particular part of Lynn kind of carries all the stereotypes that most people.
Yeah.
But we brought him in there. And like that beginning sequence where it's all kind of ambient and there's like kind of sound effects happening, we recorded that whole song in live takes, top to bottom. I think we did about 10 or 11 takes. That was take number 8. I remember that because it rhymed Take 8,
Oh,
or like a hard rhyme. But we used Take 8 on that we released itself. But that whole sequence, that beginning part, the ambient, I just kind of like put my guitar down with the amp on. Keith was just like noodling with his bass, and I walked out into the hallway with a microphone and went to the top of these stairs that like came down to the basement where our room was. And I walked down the basement and I was whistling the melody of the song, but just kind of slower and like syncopated. Yep. And Keith was just noodling on his bass, and the creaking is actually the door of our practice space. That like while Keith was just kind of like hitting random stuff on his bass, he would Alex rigged a microphone right next to the hinges on the door, and Keith was playing the door. He was just kind of like moving aggressively and shit.
No way.
That's really cool.
That whole recording is this one live take. I walk down the stairs, I walk into the room, I pick up my guitar, and Mike D starts playing his drums, and then the song starts. We did that, like I said, like 10 or 11 times, and the 8th take was by far the best. So we used that one.
That's awesome, dude.
That's sweet, dude.
I'm really happy with that recording because, like, I think we really accomplished something that was closer to what we felt like we didn't quite get on Absolute Darkness. So I think in the future we're probably going to continue like just recording in our space.
That's nice. Huge, man. It's you're in that comfort zone. Well, you're in your own habitat almost, and that you can actually. You talk about stress when recording. It's already kind of stressful enough sometimes, you know. And if you can kind of mitigate that by being in your own space, it's like so much more impactful. You know what I mean? Because you're just that much more comfortable. You're not in a foreign room. You know, you can just relax more, and then when you're relaxed, you get those better ideas, and then you can really take advantage.
Yeah, well, we recorded with Alex for the first EP, and it was our fault because especially me, I didn't really articulate really what I wanted it to sound like to him. So we ended up going back and forth for a lot of it, so he could fix things that I still wasn't sure of, and he did a great job. I love Alex. I love the room and everything. But for the full length album, Mariana, we did it ourselves, and we realized that we can spend as much time as we want on figuring things out, which was super important. So,
did you have John do that at his place? Did John record that?
Yeah,
he did. Yeah, John seems to be to really be developing a skill over there. His,
he's got his whole attic kind of rigged out with equipment and stuff like that. He's been recording other artists too, doing little projects and stuff. But he actually wanted to be here, but he's working right now at Leahy at the hospital. But I noticed we both have Beatles in our background.
Oh yeah, those are the. I got an early press of the White Album one time used, and it had all the photographs in it that it used to come with. So I got them framed.
Oh, that's nice. That's the White Album. That's what you get.
That's the White Album.
Yeah.
Yep. You can always tell. You can always tell because Lennon has the long hair and the glasses and no beard yet. That's the White Album Lennon look.
Didn't McCartney have the beard for the White Album, or is that?
No, that was Let It Be.
I thought they had beards in the White Album.
No, not yet. No. You need to brush up on your Beatle history, Steve.
I'm so behind. I'm out of touch.
So do you guys does Heavy Necker have? I'm assuming once this quarantine's over, you guys will have a bunch of gigs again. But do you guys have any plans on recording another EP or album anytime soon, or still writing songs?
Yeah, for sure. There's a number of songs that, like, you know how I was saying earlier. I'm sorry, I'm kind of long-winded. Just blow a whistle on me if I go on long here. But
it's all good.
Cool. I was saying earlier of the Absolute Darkness record, we had this idea of kind of doing like several staggered releases of like 3 or 4 songs. Well, when we put out Murder Glue and we had the art and everything done by that, and I think the art came out brilliant. As the image on it itself was a sketch by my roommate Lulu Henley. She's also on Instagram as Tattooloo. She's very skilled. And then we put that over a cropped segment of a film photo that my friend Mario Forgione took of like a vernal pool of sorts. It just kind of looked like something that belonged in there. But I think going forward, what we're going to do is we're just going to release singles, because I see a lot of pop artists, a lot of hip hop artists, a lot of people in general, since streaming is the main thing now, they'll just put a single out and that will just be enough for somebody to be like, oh, they have that song, I want to go see them.
Yeah, like you saying earlier, it's like you're a guy, we're that type of person too, that we like to really sit down and take our time with an album from front to back and analyze it. But like you're saying, most people don't do that, and you might be onto something with just doing a single.
Is it like the attention span of people nowadays? Because I feel like back in the 70s and the 60s, you'd have people that go to record stores and like know records from top to bottom. Nowadays, people just don't have they don't want to listen to 12 songs or whatever, I guess.
Well, here's my kind of theory on the matter. It's just kind of like the concept of the media blitz that's on everybody. And in terms of like artistic endeavors, I am more of a fan of putting up like kind of singles and sorts of like on the streaming services, but then having like shit that people who are actually interested, who are actually going to be like stepping their feet in the direction of supporting an artist, have that shit at the shows, you know? Like, we actually had 7-inch records singles of 2 of the songs from Absolute Darkness that we just like sold at shows. Those went pretty well. But we never advertised that online because like I just want people to like come to the show because of what they hear. And like I've gone to see bands live and I saw that they had something that I didn't know like was a thing. Like, oh shit, they have that record on vinyl. Definitely getting that. Because at that point, it's just like, when am I gonna get the opportunity to get that again? I don't know. That's just
especially vinyl is super rare with a band. It's hard enough to print the things as a small band or not a huge touring band or whatever. Like a local band, it's hard enough to get those on print. But for me, if you guys like said that you were getting vinyl, I would definitely like. I love vinyl. I would buy it in a second. If you guys, if it was for sale at one of your shows, I would buy it in a second.
There was a day because we were on the same bill as you guys once, and after you played the set,
Cantab Lounge.
Yeah, I think it was the Cantab, but it was like I think we played first.
Oh,
and after a set, Fire in the Field. After a set, I'm just so burnt out all the time anyway. But I can't ever really enjoy another band after I'm done. Like I can sit there and watch, but I want to be able to be active with it. You know what I mean? So I remember one day I called Steve and John and I said, "Do you guys want to go see Heavy Necker? They're playing at the Middle East upstairs." And we jumped and we took an Uber. We came to the Middle East, and you guys, I think you guys were the first band that played. You opened for, I think it was a touring band. The Middle East upstairs.
Oh yeah,
We got there super early because you were there already. We talked to you for a few minutes.
What year was this? Do you remember?
Probably 2018.
2018 makes more sense. Maybe
we were
2018
opening for a tour package. You said.
Yeah, and I remember I asked you. You said you were like, "Yeah, this random band asked us. Well, not random, but they were touring. They just randomly messaged me one day and asked me to be on this bill at the Middle East upstairs." And I'll have to go find it. But I remember.
It's like I don't remember playing that.
I hope it was a good show.
It was, dude. Alex. So funny. Alex Allenson was there too. We talked to him for a bit. But you guys just absolutely fucking knocked my socks off.
You guys always rock it.
I love 3-piece bands in general because they're just so interesting. And I grew up with the Beatles, so I was always used to like 2 guitar players, rhythm, lead, whatever. But to see like your performance and like you just a guitar player on your own with no other like rhythm or play or whatever, it was just like unbelievable. Like your sound, your energy, your vocals, like everything about it was just tremendous, man.
Thanks, man. You know what the best thing about playing the Middle East is? It's the Turkish coffee and the chocolate baklava.
Oh man, I didn't even get it. I didn't even think
chocolate baklava. I have not had that.
And whenever you play there, they give you like a food voucher. So I don't think you get the meal free, but I think it's like 50 or 75% off. So like I always go for it. I get this like chicken shawarma, and then I wash it down with the Turkish coffee and the chocolate baklava. Have you ever had Turkish coffee?
I have
no. I actually work for a coffee company. We sell coffee and I fix espresso machines and stuff. My boss gave me he just had next to him was a Turkish coffee maker, and it's like supposed to be like a finer grind than even espresso. It's like it's supposed to be super thick, right? Or
yeah.
Really strong.
Drinking like a coffee sludge, like a mud.
Oh.
But it's like super strong, and like if you like bitter coffee, you'll love it. It's like very, very bitter, and it's super fucking strong. It gives you a real swift kick in the ass.
Yeah, that's usually what I need at these late night shows. This is a swift kick in the ass. I'll have to,
The
I'll have to
problem
get,
with me is coffee runs through me. So if I had a cup of that before I played, I'd just be, it wouldn't be good. But for my pants or anybody else there.
I was gonna say, Chris, when we saw you, I remember. I can't remember was that time we rode in to see you open for that band, or if it was the one that we were on the same bill together. You were doing this guitar solo, and you did this thing, this walking thing, like you were just like on one foot. You were just like doing this, like to the side. Like it was so cool. I was like, this guy's got so much style, and the way, with the way you dressed, though, you had some kind of cool handkerchief hanging off the guitar. I'm like, this guy's got swagger, and it was so much. It made the show so much more enjoyable. It's seeing the band get into it like that. That's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like this is such a typical thing that just about every performer says, but I just love going on stage and having fun. Like, I'm not the type of person that is ever going to aspire to have like synchronated moves or things that are planned like that. In fact, I like things being very spontaneous. The song structures always stay the same, but the music is sort of spontaneous in itself too, because I improvise most of my solos unless there's one that I deliberately like you said you like the Star Sign solo. I practice that one, so I usually just play that as it is on the record because I actually spent some time to put that one together. But a lot of the times I'm just I love improvised music, so I love just kind of going out on a limb and trying things, and kind of the nature of being in that headspace. I think I just move in my own little way. And it feels great. It's a total release, dude. I can't wait to get back and start doing it again.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, when you guys play, let us know, man. I'll definitely come out, check you guys out. It's such every time we play with you or see you, it's such a blast. I have a good time.
Absolutely.
I think before all this went down, I saw you guys just randomly one night. I walked into Fibbers, right?
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up actually because you said something to me that night that stuck with me ever since you said it. I have a strange way about me sometimes where I just, the guys know me very well. If we play a show and everyone enjoyed it, I'll just be depressed after a show, and I don't know what I'm expecting from it. But the guys are like, "What's wrong with you? We did really well. It sounded good." And I was like, "I don't know. I'm just upset. I don't know. Maybe I just have mood swings." But after we talked, I saw you and we talked to you a little bit, and you were telling me about playing in Cincinnati, I think it was, if I recall correctly, or playing somewhere else in the country or whatever. And I said, wow, that's really cool. And I made the statement. I said, I think we're doomed to be local, not meaning it's not a bad thing to be local, but I just felt kind of strange afterwards. And you said, I forget how you worded it, but it was it's not about that. It's about what's in here. And you put it in your chest, where you're at in here. And I don't take what people say for granted. I listen, and I thought about it. And over the last couple of months, I started to do that. I was like, I need to be happy with just what I'm doing or what's the point? And I am now. I am happy with everything I do. And I think that little thing that you may have forgotten you told me really resonated with me. And I really appreciated that you said that.
Now that you've recanted that, I actually remember that moment when I hooked around the other side. I came to talk to you guys right after your set, and it was something along the lines of that is kind of important. When you're in any line of work, it doesn't even have to be a creative one. You can feel discouraged when you don't see yourself climbing, at least climbing in the way that you imagine climbing in that field, if that makes any sense.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You're not getting certain opportunities that would take you a next step further. You're kind of riding some kind of vibe, playing a lot of the same places, always seeing a lot of the same people. But it is obviously very easy to fall into kind of a sense of what you're doing is mediocre, that it's not attracting anybody new or whatever it is. But I don't know, that whenever I get caught in that, I always start thinking about I love a lot of American roots music and blues, and a lot of those guys, they didn't get shit until they were in their 60s, and they had been doing it most of their life. The only recordings out there that exist of some of those blues performers are after they had been doing it for 30 years. It's just that playing music was just part of their lifestyle. They worked a blue collar job and just played music at night because it was another ritual that they had in life. And I think that's what a lot of music has lost today. it's the ritual aspect of of playing, writing, performing, the whole everything having to do with being a performer, being in a band, just playing your own songs. It's a ritual. It really is. And I feel like that's such a heady thing to say. So
I agree. I like that terminology. I think that's the perfect word for it. It's a ritual because it really is a gathering.
Yeah, it's not there to reward you, and if you're doing it to get rewarded and you're not getting those rewards, then you're gonna quit. But if you're not doing it for the rewards and you're just doing it because it's something that enriches your life, then you're not gonna quit. I feel like that's like a weird kind of like mental division that exists in a lot of people, and they're only aware of it until they reach that point where they're like, oh shit, I've been doing this for 40 years. Or they're like, well, those 5 years kind of came and went. I don't think I'm very good. I'll try something else. You know, I think those people.
Well, yeah, because it's a different type of a reward. It's eternally rewarding. You know, you're not doing it for any necessarily monetary gain. Fundamentally, it's just, you know, it's in a band setting, it really is a gathering of minds. It is, and again, I like that word you use, ritual, because it's kind of like a group meditation almost, and you can transmit those thoughts through your instrument, and it comes out as music, and that's to me really what music is. It's just an audible meditation.
Yeah, that's a cool way to put it. Sure. Like there's a lot of jammy music out there that I don't really jive with, but
yeah, some like you know, it's just like this ooncy kind of, you could tell some of the jam bands are like it's just this kind of, I don't, maybe poserish is too harsh, but it just, I hear it and I'm like, this isn't really, I don't know, from where I'm coming from. It's cool, I guess, to dance to, but I guess there are some better than others, and you could tell like who the authentic ones are in, you know, all that stuff.
It's wild though, and like where you have to be careful is like I've kind of learned where like to think like when you start talking about the quality of music, like what's good and bad, it's such a fucking shit wire to walk on because
yeah.
People like all sorts of things, and there is an undeniable aspect of quality that you can pick up in things that are quality. But
like there is a general consensus of what good music is. I feel like. I hope.
But
maybe not. I don't know.
There's always going to be a pocket somewhere of somebody who's going to appreciate something, even if it's only the people who are generating the music. That's something that's really important to remember too. Because if you're going to like buy into the idea of like music being a ritual, you kind of have to, in order to like really get as much out of that yourself, you have to truly believe that to the point where you see really anybody playing music, if they're doing it with energy, regardless if it's good or bad, regardless of whether or not it's like your thing, it's kind of like you're a traveler and you're seeing somebody else living your life too. You're a kindred spirit. You know what I mean?
That's a cool way to, I like that. That's cool.
I kind of think of it in that way. And like, as long as somebody is respectful and they have their shit together and don't lean on somebody else to make their dream happen, like say you show up to a gig and some band is like, yo, we need your drums because we didn't bring ours, and like shit like that. It's just like, yeah, if you communicate that ahead of time, that's fine. But if you do shit like that, it's just not cool. But if everybody's kind of got their own stuff figured out and everybody's doing everything, I think that everybody should be allowed to do what they want to do, you know?
For sure. Yeah. And we've seen that too. It's like you get some shows, all the bands have it together, and like, you know, once in a while you get the shows where it's just a mess. You know, no one's communicating, and then when it comes to showtime, it's like, oh yeah, can we use your bass rig? We can use your bass rig, right? I'm like, no one said that to me, man. No one said that. I didn't get any notice. What the hell, man? I gotta think about this. So what type of music do you play, man?
Something else that I think about that is like, if you've had a similar experience as me, you'll see a correlation between the quality of a person's music and the quality of the experience of working with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. That they go hand in hand for sure.
Borrow shit and they're late and everything like that.
Yeah, I just got like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Because they don't care.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
I have a thought. Chris, there's something that you do. I don't know if you still do it, but you did it a lot, and I really enjoyed it. I have a specific word for it too. You would do the blueberry scone in a record.
Yeah.
And the only word I can find, and it's going to sound kind of cheesy, but every time I saw your post of doing that, it just reminded me of just coziness.
Yeah.
Just getting up, grabbing something for breakfast, and just chilling at home and listening to like a record. Something really cool about that. Something really like homey about it. I don't know. Just wanted to bring it up. It's really, really kind of a cool thing that you do and post about it.
I haven't done that in a while, but it was something that I really enjoyed for a while. Because again, kind of just part of like the way I when I'm able to and can enjoy like a nice record, usually Sunday mornings are a time for that usually. And I'll just sit there and I'll do nothing except for just eat a scone, look at some like art that I've got on my walls, and just kind of listen to records. And it's true, man. Like, you know, you can find yourself hearing things that you didn't hear before when you dedicate yourself to listening to something rather than having the record be the peas on the side of the plate. You
It's
can
like
have the record be the steak.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Instead of it being in the background, just kind of fumbling on your phone. Oh, that sounds cool. What's going on here?
Yeah.
When it's, you know, it's kind of going back to that whole ritual comparison. It even applies when you're by yourself too, because it requires attention. All this stuff requires attention. And
Right.
you know, I think Derek mentioned this earlier, with people's attention spans are just shattered these days. Like you can't, no one's with online media, at least, I guess, you know, no one's really got the attention span to really sit down and absorb, you know, which is going to
Well,
be quick,
I think that's the
you know?
reason why I love short tracked albums, 7 songs, 8 songs, because it's digestible and you feel like the band put out their best. They put out their best tracks. Like, you know, some bands will, you know, like this is a really bad example, but like London Calling by the Clash, which is, come on, it's classic. But there's 19 songs on there, and for me, it's like once in a while I like to go through it and say, what would I cut if I were the band to make it. I don't know how you make that album more solid, but to cut some tracks, you know, like with the White Album, you know, they talk about how there's 30 songs, can we make it into one really good single album? And that's always really interesting to me, to dissect an album and just what would you take out? What would you, you know? So.
Yeah, the White Album's definitely a prime example of that, because there's tons of, like, dare I say, kind of forgettable shit on there. But if you listen to the White Album all the way through, I feel like the experience transcends that of each individual track, and the whole record is kind of like, sort of with the single set aside, sort of meant to be digested as a whole. Because at one point I find myself like really disliking certain parts of that record, but if you're sitting through it from the start to finish, it becomes part of the atmosphere that record has. They were in a really specific to that time and place when recording that, I think.
Yeah,
you can kind of, it's definitely a different energy, and I think they were all like fighting at that point, and they were like recording separately, and so there's that atmosphere. But when I first listened to that White Album, I did it from front to back, and when Derek originally got me in the Beatles, that's like, it's like, this is how you listen to it. So that's how I did it, and even those like kind of strange tracks, whatever, those are, to me, it's part of the whole story when you're listening to an album. So that's what it is. It's a story.
My dad had the cassette on
with Exile on Main Street by the Rolling Stones.
Yep.
What were you gonna say?
That? Yeah, Exile on Main Street, I think it's considered a double album. I believe it's just pretty long, but I've always known it as, unfortunately, as like this. I saw it on Spotify. I'm like, it just gives you like the 16, 17 tracks, so you don't get to see the sides. But I remember my dad had the cassette tape of the White Album when I was like 6 years old or something, and I would put it in and I'd listen to it. And on the cassette tape, it just showed the front and the back, and that was just side one, or the first few sides. I didn't know about the other end of the White Album. You know, Birthday, Your Blues. I didn't know all those tracks until years later when I was a teenager, because I didn't know there was another cassette tape. And then I heard Sexy Sadie. I lost my mind, but I love that song. But it was just like, wow, I didn't even know that. So Spotify kind of ruins it for you. It ruins the experience of holding it and looking at the art, and you know
what else is cool about the White Album? You know, these days people are making records that the volume has to be perfect. It's got to be radio quality. Got to be even, tempo perfect to a clock. One of the songs on the White Album reminds me that like this stuff isn't meant to be perfect. Like you go to the side, I think it's the second side or the second half of the album, a song called Long, Long, Long. And the
George
first time,
Harrison song,
yeah, the volume is so quiet on that. I'm like, what? You really have to turn it up. And to me,
Yeah.
that's cool when you get that dynamic experience when you listen to an album. It's like, okay, maybe everything isn't supposed to be crystal clear, perfect, with volume optimized to radio spec. Sometimes the track can be super quiet, and like you have to really listen. Like, oh, what's going on here? So anyway, I don't know if you are familiar with that track, what I'm talking about, but it's like you really got to turn it up to hear it. And it's such a cool, it's almost like a mysterious song too. I like it.
Yeah.
I don't remember that one specifically, but
Yeah.
that whole record has a couple of dips like that in both directions, and like I think that's probably very influential on just kind of like what became of indie music, because a lot of indie music has that quality to it where it sounds like things that would be cut out, or things that would happen unintentionally would be like kind of there to remind you like, oh, like this is actually somebody doing this. These songs don't just exist in this sound out in the ether. It's like there are these little extra bits that from the studio that are kept in there, like back and forth conversation, or the sound of somebody like pulling a chair, or like whatever the hell it is. Like
That's all. Yeah,
on Wish You Were Here, before the acoustic guitar comes in, if you listen really close, you can hear David Gilmour clearing his throat and adjusting himself in the chair.
Oh, no way.
That's really freaking cool. I gotta check that out. I always listen to that, but it's always low volume, like in that part. So
that's so cool.
Like, right
that's amazing. Wow, that's a great album too.
There was one, oh yeah, during Helter Skelter, another song on the White Album, that like it fades out and then it fades back in, and it's even more crazy. When it fades back in, that it's like Paul McCartney's like do 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 do. He's like doing those walking lines, and then that's my fingers are bleeding. And that's like that kind of stuff they leave in, which is again, it's like music isn't supposed to be. And I guess it depends, and maybe if you're doing that type of track, but I think in general those imperfections are important to leave in, because it's maybe humans aren't obviously aren't perfect. It's not supposed to be like meant for robots. It's meant for human listening. So you need those little imperfections.
We need to start making some robot records soon. Clearly,
unless you're Daft Punk, and then it's definitely for robots.
Music meant for robots. Yeah,
robot rock.
So old news. Kraftwerk was doing that like 40 years ago.
Yeah. Yep, Kraftwerk. Yep, absolutely. That Hall of Mirrors, that song, it comes on my playlist, and it freaks me out. So good though. They're really 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 cool band. Chris, let me ask you a question. If you had to just grab one of your records in your place and run out, it was the only record you could like save that you have in your collection, what one would it be?
The building's on fire. You got to grab one.
It's tough.
Provided you even have enough time to think. I'm like, all right, the building's on fire, but let me scroll here. Let me scroll through.
Let me scroll. Yeah.
Kitchen's on fire. Oh, give me a second.
I don't know, man. That's there's so many records that I searched so long for because they meant so much to me, and I'm so happy. Like I'm like a better person out in public knowing that, like, in the back of my head, I'll just be in the middle of a conversation with somebody and be like, oh yeah, my first Spanish label press of AC/DC's High Voltage album is safely classic on the shelf at home. It
just comes in the back of your head during a conversation. You're like, you know what? I'm glad I have that.
I'm that much more confident in this.
What this is right here.
Oh,
no, that's pretty sweet. Holy crap.
So, hold on.
Oh, is that from I think I go to the same record shop. It has very similar writing.
This one was from Record Exchange in Salem.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's the one that
Oh, cool.
I have
This record is so fucking special to me. The cover art, I used to, when I was in middle school, I wasn't collecting records yet. I was collecting CDs, but High Voltage by AC/DC was the second album I ever had on CD. The first being All That You Can't Leave Behind by U2. What an amazing record. Oh my God.
I haven't heard that one. I got to check that out.
But are you guys familiar with the Atlantic label? Like a lot of those Zeppelin records, it's like that green and red.
Yep.
All right.
I think so.
What makes this copy of this AC/DC record that I have so special is that it's a Spanish copy, meaning it was the same record, but it was distributed in Spain. And what a lot of people don't know is a lot of those labels back in the 70s and 60s and stuff, they do alternate versions. And what Atlantic did is in different regions of the planet where they release releases as big as AC/DC and stuff at the time, they would just change the color scheme. And in Spain, it was this color scheme.
Instead of the red and green.
Yeah, and you'll even say in Spanish it's estéreo instead of just stereo.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
That's pretty
But
cool.
there's a lot of cool stuff like that. Like a pretty awesome example is Black Sabbath's Master of Reality album. There's like 30 different versions of that album cover because everywhere on the planet they had different versions released depending on like where they were having it distributed.
Mm-hmm.
So sick. I love shit like that. That's like the stuff that like people get into collecting records for because of like the variants and like all the unique stuff you can get.
Yeah, I remember buying a copy of Magical Mystery Tour on eBay years ago, and it was a special copy because it was a green. The center of the vinyl was green. It was, and that was only it's not like super rare, but it's a little more rare than usual. You don't see it too often, but I guess the green label had some significance. I'm like, oh yeah, I want that.
Which record again?
Magical Mystery Tour by the Beatles.
Oh, sick. Was it? Well, hold on. Was it? You said it was green. Was it like the Apple label?
That's what I was thinking. Was it Apple?
No,
Apple,
no.
They have that.
Give me 1 second. I'll grab it. If I can dig it out.
I have a record from the Record Exchange because I go there. Well, I used to go there pretty frequently, but it's in the Court of the Crimson King.
Yeah,
King Crimson, and it's written something on there, and I think the bass player, not the bass player, somebody who was like an engineer or something, like signed it or whatever on the record, and I always thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I could tell by the writing on your record. I'm like, oh, that was a place that I definitely go to because the guy has a certain way of writing stuff.
Yeah, they're great over there. Did you get that record?
Yeah, I'm trying to make. Give me 1 second here. Okay.
Yeah, get rid of that stuff in the back.
So Magic.
That was see. Let me just tell you about the front of that record. I hate the front of that record because the yellow isn't supposed to be there. It's supposed to be just that square because it was an EP. They released it as an EP with all the songs from the movie, and then they decided to kind of package it into an album. It wasn't the Beatles' idea. It was like the company's idea.
Oh, get out.
So if you actually look it up, it's supposed to be just that purple blue square of them. The yellow around it kind of just bothers me, but
to me, that's like part of the record. So I got it. It's still got this inner sleeve right here. Again, all the pages are
such a wacky movie.
Still intact. Yeah, it's a strange. Like, look at the artwork. It's just like
the hell. Yeah, the movie's strange. It's supposed to be kind of like a psychedelic experience. Yeah, they're all like wizards at one point. Yeah, that's so cool. That's what you miss on Spotify. You don't see the cool packaging, and that's super important.
This is a creepy one of John just shoveling spaghetti.
Yeah, that's the dream he had. That the scene in the movie's effed up.
Yeah, really cool stuff. But I'll show you the actual record. I forget why it was rarer than the more common. Rarer. I forgot it was rarer.
Yeah, because it looks like the green apple to me already.
But it's not.
We'll see.
I guess it is different.
Capital. It's not Apple.
Capital Records, yeah.
So it's an earlier press.
Yeah, so it was a little more, I guess, sought after. So I paid.
That's cool.
I paid like $3,000 for it. No, just kidding.
Yeah. It was like, what was it, $30?
No, it was like $60, something like that.
It's solid 60.
Funny to me, like how blown up like that like rare record industry kind of like gets portrayed as. People are like, oh, like this record costs like $5,000. It's like, dude, the most rare records on the planet like cap at like $800.
I don't know. I've seen like some records that could fetch thousands, and depending on it's got to be rare though. Like a first pressing of with the Beatles or something stupid like that. But
hey, Chris, I know you got to run. I know. I just want to thank you for spending time with us and talking. You were one of the first people I thought of to just chat with us because of your love of music, and we're big fans of your band, obviously, and thanks so much for chatting with us.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. When this all blows over, let's get a show together. We'll all jam out.
Absolutely,
definitely.
I love that.
Let's do it, man. Well, Chris, thanks so much, man. Appreciate you coming on. Let's do it again. Maybe a couple of weeks from now, we could do another episode. Fill us in on your updates and you know what you have planned for the future.
Yeah, hit me, man. We don't even have to talk about Heavy Necker. Let's just talk about records more, man.
Yeah. Well, let's totally do it. We can do a record episode for sure.
That's only like half my collection right there.
Oh my God, let's do it. We'll do a record hour for sure, man.
A special record hour. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I like it. All right, man. Thanks for coming on again. We'll talk to you very soon, and be good, man.
Yeah, you too. Peace, guys.
Take
You, dude.
care.